lot of times in life we go through all sorts of turmoil.
Oh, yes.
And as women, we do get walked on. We do get cheated. We do get abused. And that causes us to get bitter in life.
Yeah.
And because, you know, our boo thing, our man ran out on us and left us holding the bag. You know, when we look at our children, sometimes we see him. And we take it out on them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of child abuse that goes on in the world, and it's one little thing that goes missing sometimes. Sometimes it's the moms, the bitter moms, that cause that abuse. Sometimes it's us that's slapping the face one time too many, or putting a foot where it doesn't belong. Sometimes we do that, and it's overlooked. Why? Because sometimes we close ourselves up, we take it all in, we want the world to think that we're cool. You know, he left me, but I'm okay. You know, I got this. But when we go home, the child may say, "Mother, shut up! But get out of my face! But all I want to, pow!" There you have it. It happens like that. But as my son was saying, one thing that I promised myself that I wouldn't do, and that's abuse my children. And he's right to say that I had 3 sons, and they were hard to deal with. You know, they were tough. You know, by the time they were 13, they were, you know, they feeling themselves, and they figured out that girls are weaker than boys, and you know, so my mom, she can't do anything to me, and you know, so they figured that stuff out at early ages. But I was determined, I'm not going to abuse my children. David, how old are you?
29 years old.
At 29, I won't even look. So how many times have I called you a bad name, cursed at you, called you, you know, a negative or derogatory name? I'm not looking so you can tell the truth. How many times? Now he's got jokes.
None.
Oh, no jokes today.
I've never been called out of my name.
I refuse to do it.
I haven't. Not by my mom.
I wouldn't do it because I grew up being called stupid, dumb, ugly, back, Popeye, hunchback. I got all of those names. And it came from my dad. You know, so I got used to it. He used to call me Little Popeye Gully. And when I went to school, and I was in the 1st grade, so I had already gotten accustomed to being called out of my name. And they asked us to write our full name, so I wrote Teresa Bowie. And they said, "What's your middle name?" I thought, I was like, "Oh yeah, Gutty." So I didn't know how to spell it. No one ever taught me. That wasn't my middle name. It wasn't a name, but it was a sweet name, I would say, but he really didn't have a whole lot of sweet words. So at that time, I took it as that it was a sweet, you know, kind words of affirmation. But they weren't. They were harsh names, harsh words. And he didn't mean me or any of us, to be honest with you, any whole lot of good or affection and admiration. I do remember getting beat, you know, not just me, but all of us, until the blood came. He wasn't satisfied till we urinated all over the floor. And it didn't matter. He had to get his row out. You could urinate yourself right away, but if his arm still had that extra swing, he was going to keep it coming. And we had to go through that. I remember how he would pit us together, and, you know, he would do tricky things like he might call my brothers and say, "Hey, y'all boys, come in the garage. I bought you some toys. Here, a pair of gloves for you, and a pair of gloves for you." So they take the gloves, "Yay, now fight. Whichever one of you so-and-so lose, I'm going to kick your so-and-so, I'm going to beat the so-and-so out of you, and I mean y'all black so-and-sos, you better fight." And so the 2 brothers are looking at one another. "I love you, brother. I love you too, brother." So without saying it, they came up with a plan. Let's pretend that we're hitting each other. Oh, but Dad was too swift and quick for that trick. He was watching. He was looking at, see how close the punch really came, and did it really make contact. He got so angry, he just got up and hit the oldest boy and knocked him cold out. Just you sissy, you so-and-so. And that was that.
Mm. Wow.
He took the gloves because it really wasn't fun for him. If I can't see you fight, if I can't see you shed blood, if I can't see you just come against one another, I don't want peace in my home. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes we go through all of that. But as women, my mother, she had to sit there like a good little girl, like us. She was one of the children. She didn't want another black eye. She didn't want another broken rib, another broken jaw, another arm twist so hard till it pops out of the socket. She didn't want another one. So she sat that one out. And we gave her those grace times because they were few and far in between. But something happens with women when we go through those types of abuses. We figure out a way, put a little extra rouge on. Put the pancake 22 just a little bit thicker. No one will see. I used to buy Visine, put it in my eyes, so no one could see all of the red, because then they'd know she's been crying again. He must have slapped her one again. He must have punched her, kicked her, raped her. He must have done it again. So there it was. After a while, I got tired of counting. Rape 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, 60 times, 70 times, around 80 and 100-ish. I stopped counting. It's just a part of life.
So
it's
you
just
think
what happens to girls. I remember I was 19 years old and I found a way out. Yeah, he was a dude. Call him a man. This dude, you know, he was like, marry me, girl. I was like, okay. So I did it. Because I thought to myself, yeah, I could get out. I didn't know I was jumping out of the frying pan right into the skillet. I didn't understand that. So now his fists were a little bit harder than my father's fists. I didn't understand how a 6'5" man, big dude, could, at that time, yeah, I didn't have all this thickness back then, but I didn't understand how a big old 6'5" guy could take, you know, a little girl. I was, if I pushed 100 pounds soaking wet, maybe 95 pounds. I was only 19 years, but I didn't understand how a big guy like that could knock you down, hold your hands back with his knees, and put in the work. When the police finally arrived, some of my neighbors, I guess they got tired of me screaming, they saw the face, and when the police came, they looked at my face, they flashed a flashlight, because I didn't have lights, gas, all I had was water. And so they flashed the light on the inside, and it shined right in my face. The police jumped back and said, oh, Jesus. And then they saw the husband coming back from around the corner, stuffing his shirt in for putting in work. Sweat. He's like, can I help y'all? Yeah. You know, me and the missus, we talking. We talking. You know. She was cheating on me, so you know, I kind of lost my temper, but we cool now. We okay. And that was that.
cheating?
I ate one. Well, I ate a whole lot that night. But I had to take one for the team. And that's how it goes in life. So what happens sometimes is we get bitter. Sometimes we can just sit up and we can just think. Yeah, I remember when he did so and so. I remember when this thing happened. I remember when that thing happened. I remember when he gave me an STD. I remember when he told me he wouldn't hit me again, but he did anyway. So as women, we sit up and we get bitter. We get mad. We get calluses on our hearts, and we stop believing in God. We stop being nice people. We become very cynical. Nothing good in the world. We get to a place in life where we build monsters. Now, what I want to do right now is I'm going to read a little poem I'd like to say I wrote the poem, but I didn't. It's not mine. It's a very awesome piece. A friend of mine by the name of Claudia Cox. She wrote this piece. Now, where's my glasses? Where's that?
Right there on the side of your bag.
Claudia
Right
Cox.
there, right in the back. Yeah.
She wrote them. She wrote this poem. Thank you so much. And I want to read this poem to you. And like I said, the work belongs to her. She's a very prolific writer. She writes poetry. And she gave this to me the other day, and I asked her, would it be okay if I read it in the meeting today? Now, it's a long piece. It's going to take about 10 minutes, but I think it's worthy that I read every word. So I want you guys to just, you know, bring it in, you know, bring your hearts in, bring your minds in, and allow God to minister. Because this poem, it hit me like somewhere in here, same place. Dude hit me. It got me right between the eyes. Very powerful piece. But it's called How to Make a Monster. She said, take it from a pro. This is the surest, quickest method I know. Not trying to sound cocky. Trust me, it's a curse, not a gift. Step one. This is the easy part. Start with your average guy. Make sure he has his fair share of average guy insecurities. They all do. But make sure you find one who dreams big dreams. They're a dime a dozen. They're easy to find. They're hanging on every street corner, occupying every cubicle, and you know they're warming every bar stool. They're literally everywhere. Just pick one. Nearly anyone to do. The easiest are the ones that are already looking at you. Just look for some chemistry. Just make sure he thinks. Make sure he thinks you may be a little out of his league. Step two. Oh, fall for him. This is easy too. You just have to lie to yourself. Just a little. It's all about seeing what you want to see instead of what's really there. Look past all his flaws. Tell yourself that they're cute and quirky. Pay no attention to his selfishness, convincing yourself he's so important. Ignore all his controlling tendencies, remembering you've fallen for someone who's complicated. Disregard all his jealousy, assuring yourself he loves you so much more than he lets on. Brush off all the times he hurt you, hit you, slapped you, kicked you, beat you, reminding yourself that you're just overly sensitive. Besides, you did make him mad. Now, you made him mad. So pay no mind to the times he left you hanging, or he's not there for you, believing he's busy with so many other important things in life. Now, this is important. Step three. Feed your monster. Because everybody's got to eat, right? Feed him a healthy dose of the sincerest, sweetest sugar every single day. Hang on to his every word. Whatever he says, just say yes. Like the movie, whatever you like. Let him know your mind is blown by the very fact that he even gives you the very time of day. Tell him with your adoring eyes. Just back those things. Tell him he's brilliant and has a beautiful mind and such a unique way of looking at the world. Spoil him. Tell him he's amazing. Tell him that you can't live without him. Tell him every day how much you love him and how much he means to you. Just shower him. But here's a sidebar. In reality, it's not even love. It's your need for love. But you lie to yourself. You lie so convincingly. You talk yourself into believing. You say, no, girl, it's love. I love him. Tell him how much you appreciate his thoughtfulness for just showing up when he's supposed to. Remind him of how good he is in bed. Let him know that he's the best you've ever had. Tell him he's your everything. Let him know it's all about him. Put him on a pedestal so high and worship him like he's God. You've convinced yourself and him that he is. Here's another sidebar. He's not God. By now, the months of lying to yourself have convinced both of you that he's so much bigger and so much better than he really is. Now he's a glutton. He's got to have it. He's got to have your praise. He's got to have your respect. He's got to have your honor. So you've convinced yourself further that you can't live without him because he is your God. You immerse yourself deeper into this twisted love triangle of lies, denial, and bitter truth. You feed and feed and feed and feed your man this steady diet of sweetness and sugar, sincerely thinking, or hoping at best, that it will bring out the sweet, sensitive side of him. But it does the opposite. You've been feeding his selfishness, doing everything in your power to teach him that everything evolves around him and he has no need to take care of you because clearly in your mind, your job is to take care of him. And you very sincerely and completely, unintentionally create a monster by doing it. Because you deeply believe you need his validation and his attention to justify your own worth. Here's another sidebar. Wrong! So very wrong. So very wrong. And he knows you're wrong. But the problem is, the monstrously enormous problem is that you don't know that you're wrong. That's a problem. You don't know that you're wrong. Of course, you figured out by now that this only works when you convince yourself he really is your whole world, your reason for being, because you don't think enough of yourself and you think that you really do need him to make you whole. That's the awful superpower you possess by your deficit of any real love in your life. That makes it possible to create the Frankensteins that you so consistently create. This devastating deficit of love from those that should have love from you and for you, even love from really good friends. You're missing it. And you've been missing it your entire life. This deficit and the lies you tell yourself are the perfect ingredients to create a monster out of nearly any unsuspecting man. At the end of every single relationship, I'll say it again, at the end of every single relationship, another monster is left behind. It doesn't take long to do it, just a few months really. A few weeks if you've had some practice and you're really, really good at it, and he's malleable. But if you keep it up even longer, your monster will continue to grow exponentially. It takes just looking past the truth, a little lying to yourself, a lot of puffing up his ego, and ta-da! Monster number 1, monster number 2, number 3. Every few weeks, another monster, just for me. You've made yourself a monster. Few men have the humility to counteract anything like this. I mean, they simply can't resist it. Now the trick is figuring out what to do with your monster when a real crisis arises and you really do need him to be there for you. That may be the first time you fully realize just how awful it is to be a monster maker. Because monsters, once created, cannot be reined in, at least not by the monster makers who created them. So now that you really need him, the only one who will be there is the monster, the controlling, jealous, selfish, egomaniac who is simply incapable of being there for you in any meaningful, reciprocal way. He only knows how to receive, not how to give anymore. And he thinks the world revolves around him with no regard for you, and alone there are the ones, and you alone are the one that convinced him. This is what will keep you up at night. Kind of sounds like I know what I'm talking about, huh? Doesn't it? I don't know anyone who's made more monsters than me. A friend of mine once said, I've never seen anyone give as much as you. And I've never seen anyone take as much as he took. I've never seen anything like it. But the truth is, she didn't know the half of it. But what she did know revealed the massive power my lack of self-worth had on him. He was the biggest monster I ever created, and I had no idea I was creating one either. Not anymore, though. Never again. No. Now I know just how much damage that can do. These are hard lessons learned after years of reflection. I always saw them in the best possible light, denying the ugly truth that was right in front of me. And all my words made all the ugliness even more monstrous, regardless of my good intentions. The truth is the truth. And it should never be sugar-coated. No good can ever come of that. Feeding a man's ego falsely, building him up in his own mind to be so much more than he will ever be. All it does is create that monster. And has respect, and who has respect for his monster maker. What you really need to learn is to value yourself more than any man. I say it again. What you really need is to learn to value yourself more than any man, or anyone for that matter. Not because a man is less than you, but because if you've walked this road as I have, then one fundamental thing you already know is that crisis after crisis, broken heart after broken heart, in the end you always walk alone. But you're so much stronger than you've ever thought you were, and you don't need him or any other man to be whole. You need to own your own strength. You need to own your own worth. You need to learn to treat yourself better and with more honesty than you've ever treated him. Then after you really, deeply, honestly know in your bones that you don't need anyone, that you're complete and whole, worthy and lovable, and deeply deserving of respect, it is then, and only then, that you can bring that wholeness into the next relationship with someone who will man up, who will face the truth, and who will rise to your expectations, then require a false buildup of his character. Take the rose-colored glasses off, honey. Start telling it like it is, sweetly and sincerely. He'll appreciate it. He'll appreciate you, and he'll thank you for it. Men want to be real men. You have the power with you to help them reach their greatest and fullest potential. Never, ever settle for less than a real man again. Never settle. Especially for a monster. And for God's sakes, stop creating them. Take it from a master monster maker. That's not what you want. Clap my friend up.
Amen. Amen. That was good.
Well,
I prepared this beautiful.
well done.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, I prepared this PowerPoint presentation, but I'm going to step away for a minute because, you know, like she was saying, and some of the things, oh, thank you for that. It's easy for us to gloss over our pain and pretend it didn't happen. It's easy for us to go and put a little makeup on, buy a little weave, and, you know, get a pretty little dress or some high heels, and, you know, it's all good. We go out. I remember I used to do it too. Have all the smiles, all the laughs, hee hee ha ha. And then when I'd be on my way home, I'd cry all the way home. I was so hurt. I was so miserable.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do that. You get stuck in that mode, and then healing never happens for our hearts. It never happens for our emotions. This is the time, and I'm looking, we're close to spring chickens, but not quite. You know? We're past the little spring chicken age. But we get to a place in life now where it's time for us to give back. Because, uh-oh, your neighbor next door, she just got slapped. Oops. Yours, she just got raped. Oh, yours got kicked in the face again. Oh, this one punched her in the stomach and she's pregnant. This is where we are. And a lot of times what we do, we wear our pain, we wear our abuse as a cloak of shame. And like I said, we gloss it over with the pretty makeup because we don't want anybody to know that we're not strong, that we're not powerful, that we're not invincible. But who said that? Who told you that? Who told you you weren't strong and powerful and that your spirit is not invincible? Who told you that?
Who told you?
Where did you get that from? So what we want to do right now, David, get those that piece of paper out for me. I'm going to stray away from what I'm doing right now because this is important. I want you all to get to the place in life where you are powerful, where you are strong. Say, I'm taking my life back. Let me hear you. I'm taking my life back. On the real, who really wants to take your life back? Raise your hand if you want to take it back.
Take it back.
Okay. Perfect. Look in my brown purse and get the things out. Angie, is it okay if I incorporate, because I know you said 2 people had a testimony? Because this is important. Like I said, we can go through life and really feel that we've gotten past it because no one can tell. Just by looking at us, no one can tell that we've been slapped or raped or beat or kicked or pushed to the side. I'm going to give you this testimony, then I'm going to let you testify. I was 19, ma'am, I think I turned 20 already, and I saw my husband's car at his cousin's house. And I hadn't seen him in weeks, maybe even a month or more, so I was like, oh, he's here, I get to see my husband. So I ran up the stairs and I knocked on the door, and my cousin, she didn't answer the door. And I'm like, well, his car is out there, so I know he's there. And then, you know, because we're used to the spiel, we know how it goes. Like, what woman is he in there? He's in there, I know he's in there. So I figured out a way to tear her screen out and jack the window up and reach my hand around because the window was right by the door, and I opened the door and I walked in. I was wondering, I don't hear the music going, I don't hear her children, what's going on? So I creeped my way, and the closer I got to her bedroom door, it was like I was walking into a big cauldron or something. And I stood there by the door, I was afraid to go in, and I just listened. And so I just listened, and I could literally, I knocked on the door. I heard him, who is it? I said, it's Teresa. Yeah, I was a little salty, Teresa. And then I heard it. Oh, who is that? That's my cousin. I got your cousin, all right. So he came out, just like he did after, stuffing his shirt back in, shaking his big, long 6'4", 6'5" neck, like, you know, what you doing here? Anyway, I got pushed out. He said, to be with you, you just go to Aunt Daisy's house. I pretended I went to Aunt Daisy's house. I tore the screen out of the, it was Project Complex. So I tore the screen out of that window, and I stood in that house and I waited. till he went around to Aunt Daisy's house. I walked back in her house and asked her who was she. She said, I'm Gary's girl, but you're his cousin, right? I said, no, his wife. She was, unbelievable. I'm done with him. All of that. So Gary, 30 minutes later or so, he comes back around. Oh, God. He looks up and he sees us standing on the balcony. I'm standing here, she's standing there, but down a little further. He walks up to the stairs, and as he was walking toward the stairs, he starts to crying and looking all pitiful. I was like, well, I'll forgive him again because, you know, he's crying, you know, so. And as he got up to the top of the stairs, I got up and to reach out to him, and there it was. Move! Get out of my way. I flew right to the ground. I'm not talking to you. And he turned to her. Baby, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I'm standing there.
Wow.
I'm the wife. Well, no, actually, I'm down there looking up. I'm the wife. Broad daylight in the projects. What about me? There was no love for me. Every tear he cried, not one of the tears were a tear for me. I got pushed to the side in broad daylight. The lover, the side piece, I don't know what they call them today, the boo or something. I got kicked to the side. He never took me back. And that was that. I got married a second time. He kicked me to the side and never took me back. I always came up, I thought, on the losing end. Never cheated, never went out, never did the wifely things, but no one loved me enough. And so we learned how to put this rouge on and pretend that we're all good, that we're okay. But it's not. The situation is not all good, and it's not okay. And if we don't do anything about it, we bring that baggage with us. We carry it. Not even carry because it's too heavy. We drag it alone throughout life. And that's why we become cynical and bitter. So before we do our little exercise, I know you had a testimony. Was it two or just one? Oh, she's gone. Can you come on?
Well, this is Violence Week, is what they're saying.
Yes.
And I, 20 years ago, experienced the worst being I think any woman could ever have experienced. I was 8 months pregnant, and he threw me on a staircase and beat me about my head so badly until I screamed for my own children to call 911, and they did. They got there just in time to peel him off me, really. And I grabbed my purse and I ran to the car, went to the emergency room, had myself and the baby checked out. And then days later, I collapsed of a stroke. Actually, it was an aneurysm, which was a stroke as well, and lost the use of my left side. And I'm still left with that baggage 20 years later. And the first time someone hits you, man, woman, either way it goes, get out, go, leave, don't look back. Just go, because love does not act like that. That's not love.
That's right.
Get away from it, don't turn back. And that is really my testimony. I guess God left me on the face of the earth to tell that way. Because I often, every day since then, asked, well, you know, I went to school, I became a nurse, and instead of being able to nurse, I'm left with nothing. And actually, I can say God has given me lots along the way. It hasn't been wonderful at all, but He has given me lots. And I'm not going to stop telling the story the way it was. I will always tell it to the very end, unless God silences me. That's my promise.
Right.
Amen.
Do we have another testimony?
I don't know. I've been through a lot, but I looked at life where I came from. And there was a strong mother that I had, and I learned when I was 10 years old what kind of person I was supposed to be anyway. So dealing with pain from a man to any other, you know, I know everybody lives a life of feelings, but I found God at the age of 10. Jesus spoke to me a lot, gave me strength, knowledge, ability to understand life. You know, it hurts, you know, I cry, but somehow I set back and then I get stronger in understanding life. Because like I came from a huge family, and a family that my mother was a person that she was the only child, and she had a whole lot of us, and she was spoiled. And so she was strict and spoiled. So everything has to go in order. Everything got to go her way. But you know, we all cater her, because from all the kids, all the grandkids, it was like we lived up here for years on Benton Street. So, but that wasn't our first house. It was like 40, maybe more, from kids to grandkids there. But my mother was a person, did not play. She taught us how to be strong within anything. So, but I was the last one, last black sheep, whatever they called me at the time. But I felt like my sisters was jealous of me, and or didn't like me. I don't know what that was. Still right today, here I am in my late 60s. I went through heck, but you know, I was so into God till I didn't let nothing really kind of like stop me from believing in Him and know what to do. And I know what He was for me. So I didn't give up. Let them torment me or anything. You can make me cry, but I bounce back because I asked for Him. Because see, I cried out to Him, so He bounced me back in. Mm-hmm. So you can take the Bible off from under my head all you want to at night, in the morning, whatever time you taking, because I read it. But He bounced me back. Mm-hmm. He made me come back in. He always kept me, and I always had to believe that He had me here, because ain't nobody else put it to me like that. To me to learn Him, I got out there myself, going to church and learning myself. Because my mother was a middle-class woman. She had so many properties from all over. She really ain't had too much to, you know, guide us a lot. Only thing that was guiding is business. Business become for pleasure to her, you know what I mean? I mean, she had a pleasure because she had